Surya, thank you for talking with Motorindia. I'm Rajesh here and trying to understand like how Busworld India 2026, a conclave like this, helps the whole bus ecosystem. What are your thoughts on this?
I think the theme of the entire conclave this time around has been to try to get more and more people towards shared mobility, towards bus, and try to take bus as a preferred mode of transportation. I think doing bus conclave in India at this point of time, given that the industry is at the inflection point that it is a very, I think it's the right opportune time to do it. It also brings together a lot of leaders, a lot of companies, a lot of stakeholders who are across the value chain of this service to come together, talk about it, and then also engage on where this industry is headed. There have been in the past a lot of headwinds that this industry has seen. There was COVID last year. There was an attack that happened for Operation
Correct.
Sindoor right in the middle of summer peak. So a lot has happened, which has kind of dented the growth of this industry over time.
Yeah.
Getting people together, moving towards a world where now we are actually finally able to come out of this, but with the right set of regulations and powered with the right kind of backup on this, we are moving forward. I think it's a great time for us to do it and for us to come together.
Great thoughts, initial thoughts. And in terms of, listening to people here, we have legacy OEMs and new age OEMs, also the new operators and the old operators who, have been in the business for so long. What are your thoughts? How are new age operators reshaping the whole ecosystem? Are they able to catch on to the pulse of the aspirational Indian middle class?
I think the nature of processes in general, which I've seen like in whatever like years of work experience I have, is that when someone builds a process, they kind of move it towards perfection. And then if you take that person out and put someone else in, they see it with a completely different lens. I think what a lot of new age operators are doing is that they're looking, it's not like the age old operators were doing all things wrong. There were a lot of things that they got right as well. But as new people come in, as they start looking at it with a fresh pair of eyes, the perspective changes. They also bring a lot more of the current new age expectations that the customer has and also a tech first view in this industry. And I think that's what this industry needs. This is the same as like how airlines was 25, 30 years back, where a lot of the bookings, a lot of the experience was actually more offline than it was on your phone. Now, I don't know of anyone who actually calls an agent and books a flight ticket anymore. And that has led to a lot of things. That has led to the demand being more and it reaching a wider audience. At the same time, making it more transparent, making it more convenient, and making the end-to-end customer experience much better. The same is and is starting to happen with the bus industry as well. I think that's where new operators come in, where they take a lot of the great things that the older operators have already been doing, build on top of the trust and the promise that they have, and try to bring a layer of tech standardization on top. And we always say, like, Flix is here to make bus travel cool again. That's what we're trying to do.
Yeah, in fact, I was about to ask, like, since you have been, a technology-led first company, you take a lot of cue from the data that you generate and also know what the customer actually wants. What is your promise as FlixBus and what are you trying to communicate to the ecosystem?
Our promise, like the pillars of promise that we have are fairly straightforward. We want to make sure that the experience that you have pre-booking during the trip and post the trip is standardized. So there's an higher establishment of trust which is there. A lot of times what we saw with our consumers was like when we were coming into the market and doing our initial both quantitative and qualitative market research is that people don't trust because they don't know what they're booking and what they're going to get at the end. Is it going to look the same as the photograph or no? Is a Volvo bus a AC bus or is it a is it a make of the bus? Those are things which I think we've kind of like set back on, and we're going to make sure that there is a higher degree of standardization over there. The second thing that we're providing to our customers is safety. Over and above the norms and the architecture of the safety guidelines that we have to work with, we have a lot of things over and above that we have. We have technology in the form of AI dash cams which help monitoring critical and fatigue alerts. We have third-party background checks for all the hosts and drivers that we have, along with the handheld training for the first few weeks of them being on board, and a lot more things that we have across the board that help make the system and help make the service more safer. And the last thing that we are trying to do, and we up until now doing a good job of it, is to make the service more punctual. We see that there is the best correlation to NPS is punctuality. If your bus leaves on time and hopefully arrives on time as well, then people feel that they can trust this brand and they get, the predictability is high.
And in terms of overall, growth drivers, where do you see it coming from? Which are the regions you are strong and which are the regions you would want to expand?
I think across the board, the growth across India is really, really strong. We are seeing a lot of uptake, which is coming in a lot of use cases and routes which are never there on the map before. I can take an example of Kenchi Dham. For example, up until a couple of years back, most of the buses were going up until Kathgodam only.
Yeah.
Now there's so many buses which are trying to give last mile services to Kenchi Dham, and we've started cab drop-offs to Kenchi Dham now, and that's just one of the examples. There's Ujjain, there's a lot of areas in north and south. So not only are your traditional tier 1 to tier 2 or like tier 1 to tier 1 interconnections doing well, there's a lot of demand which is coming from tier 2 and tier 3 and beyond as well. So there is a lot of growth which is happening across the board in India, and I think like as the Indian middle class is getting more disposable income, and this is just the nature of how the economy progresses.
So,
As
just to put it in numbers, how many buses do you operate and how many passengers do you move every month?
So both of these numbers, unfortunately, I can't disclose. I can tell you that we are connecting more than 300 cities at this point of time in India.
Okay. And if there is one thing that you'd like to change immediately for the whole ecosystem, what would that be? Infrastructure, incentives, or government policies? What do you want to pick?
It's like a genie wish at this point. I think I would go with infrastructure.
Right? Like that's the takeaway, right? Many people are saying here.
No, across the board, that's the case. No, like it's and we see this in the pain points of the consumers as well. Lack of infrastructure limits you on a lot of things. There are certain areas that you can do pickups from. The pickup experience over there is not the best. Travel-related anxiety goes up. People don't know, and this is not us carrying a backpack and going. There's the family of 4 with 2 kids with 3 suitcases that is running around and trying to catch a bus with the anxiety that they might miss the bus if they don't know where it's coming. Good infrastructure solves for it. Good infrastructure also gives access to people with disability, older people, women to take a bus from a much safer and a much more trustworthy and familiar environment. So
there was also talk about financing. Does financing come second? First infra, then financing?
I think financing within commercial vehicles is not a problem, I would say. For electric vehicles, absolutely. I think financing is a very, very big part of the puzzle that needs to be solved for. But ICE commercial vehicles financing is fairly easily available right now.
And what are your goals in near to medium term, say next 2 to 3 years? You said already 300 cities that you are connected. What next?
So we enter every market with the aim to be the largest player over there and the dominant market player, and that's our position in India as well. And we are gearing strongly towards that aim. By the end of 2030, FlixBus India will be Flix's largest market globally by passenger volume.
And this will be largely intercity and intracity as
we
well?
do long distance intercity.
Long distance. Perfect. Thank you, Surya. Pleasure interacting with you.
Thank you so much.